Yankee fans, we are back. It's our first episode since episode 20 was released back in June. So, Brad, what are we going to do in this episode?
Well, we have to talk about because postseason's coming up in about 2 weeks. Yankees and Astros are deadlocked now for the number one seed in the AL, and actually they're deadlocked to the Dodgers for overall, I believe, too. So it's coming down. That's going to come down to the wire, and now their magic number to clinch the division is only at 3.
That's right. The Yankees are 98 and 53. So are the Astros. And I don't know if the Dodgers already played today, but last I looked, they were a game behind. So, but it's all neck and neck. It's all coming right down to the wire. It's going to be some exciting stuff. But before we dive into stuff that's going to happen, let's kind of talk about stuff that's already happened since, it's been 3 months since we've done one of these things. If you people don't remember, my name is Greg Andriano, and you can find me on Twitter at GregAndriano05.
And I'm Brad, and follow me at Brad or Chatter 1 on the Twitter.
On the Twitterverse, Twitter sphere. So, like we said, the best record, home field advantage is neck and neck. Yankees and Astros are both off today, and so are the Rays. So nothing will really change. And as far as the Yankees are concerned, their magic number will still be 3 going into the series with Anaheim tomorrow. About a week ago, they dethroned the defending AL East champs, eliminating them from AL East contention, the Red Sox. They have a 18-game lead over them as of right now, and a 9-game lead over the Rays. I mean, that's like sweet music to my ears. I can't tell you how long I've waited to have such a big lead over the Red Sox like this. This is wonderful, especially a year after they won the World Series.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of sucks that they did win the World Series last year, so you can't get so much trash talking because they're going to say, well, we just won last year. When was the last time we won? But it actually brings up an interesting question sometimes I think about. Would you rather do what the Red Sox do and they win it all, and then they miss the playoffs for a couple years, and then they come back and they win it all again? Or would you rather make the Yankees, who pretty much make the playoffs every year, but they're ousted early a lot? It's I don't know which one I would take.
I don't know. Let's see. In the last 10 years, would they not make the playoffs 2 times? The Yanks, 2 or 3 times.
Girardi didn't make it twice. I think
he didn't make it his first year, and then they didn't make it. I think Jeter's last year. So yeah, I think twice.
Was his first year the last year of the old stadium?
Mm-hmm.
All right, yeah. So say that's the year I know they didn't make that.
Yeah. So I kind of think that I would like to still make the playoffs every year because at least you're playing for something. I don't want to be, because I'm a diehard fan. I watch baseball before any other sport. So when September comes around and everybody's watching football, I'm still watching baseball. Even if they're not in contention, it just sucks that to watch and know that they're not playing for anything. So yeah, I think it's worse to win the World Series and then not make the playoffs next year. I'd rather have the Yankees build a good team and make the playoffs every year in hopes of creating another dynasty.
Yeah, it'd be nice. It's tough to do that.
Ideal, but it is because it's not like it used to be. It's not like the mid '90s anymore. Teams are getting smarter. GMs are getting smarter. It's tough. So if anyone can win back-to-back years, it's kudos to them. So Brad, let's talk about kind of what we're going to do from now on, because we're changing it up a little bit. We're not kind of going to go through a list of topics and debate it. We're going to do something new that you came up with. So why don't you talk about it?
I think sometimes we bore you with all the absolutely awesome content that we have about the game. We love this game so much that we tend to, overdo it a little bit. So, we're gonna have that guy right there. That's what I'm talking about.
Guilty.
He's talking. I'm not talking. So, I think we're gonna fire off some questions at each other. Some quick questions. I'll have quick questions. He'll have long questions because that's just the way things work. And get an answer, offer an opinion, and move on. I think that's pretty cool because number one, it keeps it short, keeps it entertaining, and that. Thirdly, it hopefully kind of generates some kind of conversation, I guess, discussion amongst people. That's nice. That'd be ideal.
That is ideal. We always want to try and get other people involved in talking about this. And Brad, you're sliding off screen. But no, the cool part about this is that Brad and I have each prepared a couple questions, and not the ceiling, just Brad. But we both prepared a couple questions. Neither of us has seen or heard what each other has prepared. So when I ask a question to Brad, he has not had any time to prepare for this. We're kind of going to go off the cuff here, get a more real answer, real response, as opposed to providing all this stats and all this backup information, which is always great, but it's kind of cool to go off the cuff. So yeah, Brad, why don't you?
Because if any of you follow Yankees Twitter, everyone is very emotional and spur of the moment. There's nobody actually sits and thinks about what they're gonna say. All right, there's a lot of really dumb tweets out there about the Yankees, and I think it goes for any team, and that's how fans are. Us fans are very emotional, and you kind of jump to conclusions, I guess you could say. Whereas other sit back and look at the numbers, it's different. But let's harness the energy that the Yankee fans have on Twitter and just get right to our initial reactions.
Yeah, and that's a great idea. And if you have any questions that we didn't bring up during these conversations, feel free to direct message us on Yankee Chatter on Twitter. Maybe in a future recording, we'll bring them up and talk about them, get everybody involved. So keep those or start those direct messages coming our way.
And if enough of you subscribe, maybe we can do some live videos eventually and have discussion while we're doing it.
We're all about making this a group experience and making this fun for everybody, because all that negativity on Twitter gets old after a while. Let's keep it positive. Let's keep it fun. Let's keep it enjoyable, because the Yankees are supposed to be fun and enjoyable to watch. Right, Brad? Right?
Hey, that's what I'm going to watch either way, but better. All right. So you want guys in there?
All right. Yeah. Why don't you start us off, Brad? What's your first question?
All right. Well, I'm going to tell you this right now. I went with a theme for these questions, and because the magic number's 3, all my questions have to do with the number 3. All right.
Ooh,
so
you fancy.
First question. Everyone wants to discuss who the opening pitcher is going to be in the playoff series. So you know what? I'm doing that. I'm over that conversation. I want to know, who is your number 3 pitcher, presumably after Tanaka and Paxton?
To me, it depends on how Severino comes back, because he's making his first start of the season tomorrow against the Angels, or by the time this gets posted tonight. So it's kind of interesting to me to see how he makes his comeback, and he needs to build up innings. He's only pitched 3 innings, I think, max in his last rehab start. So I'm sure he'll probably have a pitch limit to start, and there's only 11 games left in the season. So he might not be able to build it up very much. But I think if he's effective and he's throwing strikes and he's getting outs, not necessarily strikeouts, but outs, and can give them innings, I think he should be your quasi opener for the number 3 starter.
Now, would you have an opener in front of him, since he won't be able to build up arm strength yet, or would you rather have him be the starter and someone else come after him, like Herman?
I would prefer to see him start, because he's a starter. I'd like to keep him in his routine. You get him warming up like he would to start a game, because we don't know how he can pitch out of the pen. He hasn't done it before, I don't think. Not that I remember. And starting pitchers are creatures of habit. So if you throw a little thing off in their routine and they're not accustomed to it, he might not respond very well. But he's a starter. He's typically going to be our ace, prepare and come into the game as a starter.
All right. Fair enough. Good answer.
All right.
Just for record, I would have him be the guy. I don't know how he's going to be out of the bullpen either, but his performance in the playoffs has not been that great. So he might actually be better coming in after the starter, because I think what his problem in the postseason, he gets overhyped, overamped up, and he's just not the same guy.
Now, the only thing that could work in his favor here is he hasn't pitched all season. He doesn't have 200 innings on his arm right now, so he may have that energy, but he also may be fresh. And if you can get a couple innings out of him right off the rip, I think that's great. But it could work. It could work either way. He could be like Phil Hughes was in the 2009 playoffs and feed off that energy in short bursts like he did. So, I mean, it could work either way. But personally, I think he should stick with his routine.
All right, man. You're up.
All right. So you seem to be looking to the playoffs. I'm going to be kind of looking back to what's happened since the All-Star break. And my questions have questions tied in there, so I'm expecting some well thought out answers here, Brad. So speaking of pitching, so speaking of pitching, the Yankees starting pitching of recent, their bullpen has been hit or miss, and I mean that pun. I intended that pun, hit or miss. So do you agree now that it's September with Cashman's decision to stand pat at the trade deadline and not deal for a starting pitcher?
Well, I think the market kind of made this decision for him. I think if he could have gotten Bauer or Stroman, I think he actually would have pulled the trigger, but it just wasn't going to happen. Yeah, of course, now looking back, you can say he did the right thing because those pitchers aren't pitching well anyways. Although they might pitch different, they were in New York in a pennant race instead of, well, I guess Stroman kind of is in a pennant race in the Mets, kind of. Not a pennant race, but a wild card race.
He's fighting for something.
But I think the main thing for me this year was that I don't want to overpay for an average pitcher just because it was the deadline. That's what it would have been. So, yeah, I'm happy with what the Yankees did.
Okay. I guess that was a short and sweet question after all. But I agree with that. It makes sense. Hindsight, you would never know that these pitchers weren't going to pitch as effectively in their new destinations. But, I mean, what would they have had to give up? A lot. And with all the injuries the Yankees have had this season, they've actually ended up needing all that depth. So yeah, I'm with you, Brad. I agree.
All right. Easy enough.
Cool. Yeah, cool beans. Where's the controversy? Come on, let's pick it up.
All right. Well, next question. His number is not 3, but it is 31. Aaron Hicks. Will the Yankees regret that contract they give him, given his injury past and injury season?
Well, I think you're asking the wrong person because I've never personally have been sold on Aaron Hicks. I thought re-signing him to a 7-year deal might come back and bite them. He's never played an entire season. He's always hurt. And lo and behold, he's probably, I don't know how many games he's played this season, but it hasn't been many. Maybe like 50, if that.
That's generous. Yeah.
If that. So yeah, I think if he cannot stay healthy next year and the year after, then yeah, I think they're going to come to regret it. But the benefit to his contract is that it is affordable. It's not, this gargantuan $20-30 million a year contract. So teams might bite and give him a chance,
right?
Which is nice.
I initially thought that might have been a reason that Cashman did that, because in the event they do trade him, it's not a bad contract to take on for a team.
Mm-hmm.
You got years,
so yeah,
a ton of money.
But if you want to see my surprise face for him being done for the season, here it is.
Yeah. I think that's what we're kind of assuming.
Yeah. So no, I'm not surprised, and I'm willing to bet that it comes back and they regret it.
All right. Yeah, especially if you got Florial has another good spring training next year. So we'll see. When I saw they gave him 6 years, I kind of assumed that they were looking past Florial already and looking for Jason Dominguez to mature.
That'd be nice if he pans out.
22 years old, that'd be about the time to make your debut.
That'd be nice if he pans out. I actually missed a part of the question from the last question.
All right,
it goes on to the next page, and I'm kind of okay with that because I don't like one of my questions. No, forget it. I'm gonna skip it. I'm gonna go back to my next question and say, do you like Didi Gregorius in the 3-hole batting after Aaron Judge?
That's very funny you asked that, because the question I was going to ask that I crossed off and changed it was, who do you bat in the 3-hole in the playoffs? And the answer is no, I don't like it. I think he's there just because he's a left-handed bat, and it doesn't matter to me because the whole batting order is right-handed anyway. So what's the point of making sure you have a left-handed bat in the top 3? I think that's Torres' spot. That's where I think he should be batting. I don't know why. Torres is having a phenomenal year. He's going to hit 40 home runs, and they still consistently bat him 5th, 6th, or 7th in the lineup. And he's just
the only time he bats above 3 is when Judge has an off day.
Exactly. I don't understand. The 3-hole should be Torres' spot.
And Judge and Torres are your future. right? So you want them at the top of the order. I completely agree. I don't think Didi. I think Didi's only there, like you said, because he's a lefty. And I even feel like if Hicks were healthy, he'd be thrown in the 3 hole. And again, I don't think that's the right spot for him. You want someone that's consistently producing, and that's Torres. And he has
Yeah,
all year. And he's had a breakout year, and he's only 22.
yeah. It's amazing how young he is.
And he's got what 4 or 5 more years of team control. Man, that guy's gonna blossom into some player, isn't
That's the guy you lock up. Yeah, that's the
Mm-hmm.
guy you can let go ever, for anybody. I don't care. I don't care who you want. People were discussing trading him away at the deadline. No, no.
A huge mistake, and you will regret it the second he puts on a different uniform.
I mean, I get the understanding that you had LeMahieu, Urshela, and Didi, so you had your infield set, and if you can get a ace type starter, then I think the Yankees would have been went on and not missed
Mm-hmm.
Torres. But at the same time, I don't know if he can make an exception because he's just been their most consistent guy, really. Overall, I mean, I know his batting average isn't the highest, except for LeMahieu. I don't know. Does he lead the team in home runs now?
He does.
He does, and who saw that coming? And he just always has a knack of getting the home run at the right time too. So, yeah, he's your number 3 hitter.
I agree, and I really hope that they make that adjustment and come the playoffs. But they won't, because Stanton's going to come back, and they'll probably throw him in the number 3 hole.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see where he bats. I know you're going to be in on that one.
Right, yeah, because you know how much I like to break down these batting orders. All right, go ahead.
In the playoffs, there's sure to be a lot more home runs in the playoffs this year because why not just carry the trend of the regular season into the playoffs? So no matter who the Yankees play in the first round, whether it's the Twins who mash or it's the A's or Rays, there's gonna be a lot of home runs. So my question to you is, if you had to pick a player from the Yankees to hit 3 home runs in the first round, who would it be?
Stanton.
Wow, that came out of left field.
This guy.
All right.
Do you want to know? Do you want to know why I picked Stanton?
Yeah, I'd like to hear.
Because I am sick and tired of people bashing him. The guy is now a year and a half, almost 2 years removed from an MVP season. He carried the Yankees last year down the stretch, and he just had the misfortune of being injured this year. And I see all these people on Twitter saying, "Oh, he's going to suck. Why? I don't want Stanton back." The guy is a hitter. And a lot of people are saying, "Oh, he hasn't earned his pinstripes yet." Well, this would be the opportunity for him to do that. And I would just love for him to come back and silence all the haters. Because I like Stanton.
I like him a lot too. And I think, the people that criticize him are just absolutely ridiculous. And the guy was an MVP 2 years ago. Last year was his first year in an all-new league, all new pitchers, and he still carried the team towards the end of the stretch. And now this year's been hurt. And actually, when he was playing this year, he was playing very well.
I believe he was hitting over 300. Now, he's only played like 15 games, but he's still hitting the ball hard. He's still putting the ball in play. I don't think he was striking out as much. And a healthy Stanton benefits Aaron Judge all day. And if Sanchez gets back healthy, it benefits him too, because you're adding another lethal bat to that lineup that pitchers need to pitch around.
Yeah. Now, we'll say your prediction is it's a little shaky. And the guy's going to be coming back, throwing right into the playoffs, and you think he's going to get 3 home runs in 5 or less games. But, hey.
You never know. It's true. And, I'm sure he's frustrated from not playing all year. So probably getting back on the field could amp him up. And maybe we'll see a side of Stanton that these people clearly haven't seen yet.
An interesting answer to that question also would have been either Gardner or Didi, because those two always seem to they're very streaky, but when they're hot, they seem to hit them a month.
I was leaning towards Gardner because Didi seems to always have a clutch home run in the playoffs. I mean, so does Aaron Judge. But Gardner would be nice because all the same reason as Stanton. Nobody wanted Gardner back this year, and now look at the season he's had. So
yeah, I hope he's back next year. Honestly.
Yeah, they need him. He's one of the big heartbeats of this team. So, all right, next question. Ready for this, Brad?
Go for it.
We're we're gonna step out of the Yankee bubble for a second here.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. To this point, this is a 2-point question, 2-part question. Up to this point, which American League and which National League team has surprised you the most, and which has, in a good way and a bad way?
So you want two from each league? Good
Give
and
me,
bad?
or it could be, give me who surprised you or disappointed you in the American League, and who surprised you or disappointed you in the National League.
Well, I'll start in the American League. The easiest one is the Red Sox. And no one saw them 18 games behind the Yankees coming down the last 2 weeks of the season. They gotta be everyone's biggest disappointment this year. No one saw us coming. Even though they had a terrible start to the year, everyone said, wait, they'll come around, just wait. They never came around. They never did. So that's gotta be, I think, the biggest disappointment in the entire league. It's gotta be the Red Sox. Biggest surprise in the AL. I can't say Twins because I know when we were predicting our divisions, I said the Twins. I picked the Indians because they're pitching, but I said the Twins are going to be close.
Yeah, we're gonna bring those guesses back come playoffs. See how we did.
Yeah, because I mean the American League's so cut and dry. It's hard to be straight from anyone. So I guess as far as a good surprise, I gotta go with the Rays. I guess just because. I thought they were going to take a step back. I didn't think Snell was going to the same season, and he didn't. They lost Odorizzi, and he's having a great year for the Twins. So they lost. They keep losing players, and then somehow I think Kevin Cash is a phenomenal manager, and he just finds ways to win games. So I was thinking the A's too because I thought they weren't going to be able to repeat their magic from last year, but they are.
Yeah, they're literally doing the same thing.
They did the same thing as last.
Exactly the same thing.
My surprise would be the Rays. Now, the National League, biggest surprise was going to be the Diamondbacks, but they fell off the wagon this past week when they got swept by 4 games by the Mets. Because before that, they were like 2 games out of the wild card, and that's after unloading their roster, losing Corbin and Greinke. I think the biggest surprise to me is the Braves winning that division again because. I thought that was the Nationals division, and I thought either the Phillies or the Mets. I think I picked the Mets to get a wild card out of that division. I didn't have the Braves there, and they're running away with the division. So my biggest surprise is the Braves. Disappointment. The Rockies went from I think they won like 90 to 100 games, something like that, 100 games last year, and this year they're going to lose 100 games. That's disappointing. I thought the Rockies were going to be much better. It was between the Rockies and the Cubs for me. I'm gonna go Colorado. I thought they'd be much better than they are this year, even with losing the May. Still, right?
Yeah.
That's a huge turnaround, going from winning almost 100 to losing 100.
Absolutely.
So yeah, those answers all right. I think
they
were pretty well
those are good. Those are good, well thought out answers, Brad. I agree with the Red Sox.
Without any of the explanations, and keep it quick. What are your teams?
I'd probably say the Red Sox are a big surprise, bad surprise. I think a good surprise would have to be the Twins pitching. Or no, I take that back. The Twins offense. We knew they were going to be good, but I didn't think they were going to be this good, and I didn't think they were going to hit so many home runs and break the Yankees record. So yeah, that's my American League. Red Sox, bad. Twins, good.
Nelson Cruz is still doing it. What is Nelson Cruz? 37, I think. He's still doing it.
Getting close to 40. But when you're only a DH, it's kind of easy. National League. I'm gonna say I'm disappointed in the entire NL Central division as a whole. Yeah. I thought at least the Cubs and the Cardinals would kind of run away with that, but they're not. And then biggest surprise, I'm going to say the Mets, believe it or not.
In a good way?
In a good way.
Okay. And they're disappointing me, but yeah.
I mean, they're always a major disappointment, especially if you're a Mets fan, which we're not. But and they usually turn into a dumpster fire around this time of year. For some reason, they're hanging on by a thread. And I don't know if it's Pete Alonso or the pitching staff staying healthy for a change. But I'm actually surprised they're still in contention and haven't been eliminated yet. So yeah.
Okay. All right. My next question: over under 3 innings. How many innings does CC Sabathia pitch in the postseason?
Over under how many innings does
I
CC
said
Sabathia?
at 3. You think he's going to pitch 3 innings?
3 innings or 3 games? Sorry.
3 innings.
In just total?
Yeah, total. Which means you have to pitch more than one game because I don't see them letting him go more than 3 innings in one game. But that's me. That's your question.
I think he throws exactly 3 innings.
And also, if you have Sevy and Herman or something as your third starter, then I don't know when Sabathia starts, if ever. So you got to think about that too.
If he does start, I don't know. See, I feel like he could take over as a long relief role in the playoffs and give an inning or two. Because I really don't feel comfortable with him as a starter. I'm sorry. I love CC. He's a great guy. Been a Yankee for a long time, but he doesn't fit in this team as an effective starter anymore. So
Yeah.
three innings. That's what I think.
Do you think exactly? Okay.
I think exactly. I think he's going to get one start in a 7-game series and pitch 3 innings, and it's going to be and they're going to probably have built up or decide to give Herman a start. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love those people that say, well, CC competes. He competes. I hate that because the batters in the box are competing too. I mean, it's the playoffs. No one's not competing. Your stuff.
Yeah, you can compete.
Not good enough.
Yeah. Yeah, you can compete and still be entirely ineffective.
Exactly.
And he hasn't been effective. He hasn't really been effective this year. He had a few good starts at the beginning of the season, but because he can't stay healthy and because he's missing time and he's not sticking to his routine, he's been so inconsistent, and it's not the same CC. So he may be good to have on the bench and fire people up. And I think CC is such a big team first guy that he would be okay with taking a back seat and giving someone else who can get outs a shot. And I think he could be one of those, a good cheerleader, and get those guys fired up on the bench. He's one of the big voices in the clubhouse, him and Gardner, and I don't see why that would ever change.
Yeah, he's still a major voice that they need.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Greg, you're up.
All right. How many questions have I asked?
This is your fourth.
My fourth. Okay. Let's go back to the Yanks.
I have one left first.
You went first. Okay. Two-part question. One Yankee that has impressed you more than anyone else in 2019, and one Yankee that has disappointed you. Can be a position player, a pitcher, or both. Or either or.
Okay, so disappointment. Does that mean like excluding not being able to play because of injuries, or I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Someone that has played most of the season and has not lived up to your expectations.
Okay. All right. Well, impressed. Then I have to go with. I guess I gotta go with Torres because he's really breaking out this year. There's so many options because
they really are.
Playing. You could go with LeMahieu, or you can go with Herman has 18, 19, was he 19 wins? 18 wins. Chapman's been great in the bullpen. You can say Ottavino. I'm gonna go with Torres just because he's the guy I watch the games for. Like I make sure when he's up at the plate, like I'm watching his at bats because there's always a possibility something big is gonna happen when he's up.
That's true.
And Judge, I can watch. Sometimes Judge has the absolutely worst at bats. Like he takes pitches down the middle, he just guesses wrong. But Torres, he just always seems to have a plan when he's up there, and he knows what he's doing. I love watching him bat. So I'd say that's the most impressive. Person disappointed, I guess I could say, was how much of a break to give Didi because of the surgery. I'm gonna let that slide. I'm not gonna go there.
All right.
I'm gonna go with a guy because it's well documented how high I was on him. I'm going Chance Adams. This was his year. We've been hearing about Chance Adams for years, how good he's gonna be. This is the year he gets all kinds of injury problems. They've been having an opener for the last 3 months because they don't have a fifth starter because of injuries. This is his year. Montgomery is out still. He's going to hop into that starting rotation, but every time they bring him up and pitches, just gives up runs. Like it's It's not even like it's unlucky. It's just he gives up runs at a time. So, and I hate Sessa. I hope he never plays in the Major Leagues again. But at this point, I expect that, and I was expecting better from Chance Adams. So he's my most disappointing.
All right. I'm glad you went off the beaten path here and picked some guy that no one would have thought you would have picked. But knowing you and how high you were on Chance Adams since he's been a prospect, it's true. He has been disappointing.
I ain't gonna go off script. It's cross off the Torres. That's too easy. Urshela, he's the most impressive.
I was surprised you didn't say him from the start.
He didn't even enter my mind. I gotta admit.
I mean, Torres, I feel like a lot of people will pick him because he's hit so many home runs, but someone that nobody expected to be on this team is now one of their clutch hitters.
Isn't it crazy? I feel like he's been playing most of the year and he's still not gonna be eligible for the batting title. Like that's weird to me. I feel like he plays every game.
He does, but I don't think he started until like a month or two into the season. I don't remember. Because they were babying, they were figuring out what was going on with Andujar, and then you had LeMahieu playing third, and Greg Bird and Voit were still healthy. So,
right.
No, I agree with both of those, Brad. I'm gonna just give you mine. I'm not gonna give you any explanation. Biggest surprise for me, Gardner.
Okay.
Gardner, big surprise, and big disappointment, Happ.
Yeah. I can't say much about Happ. Although he's pitched great lately, except as soon as Sterling said he pitched all the scoreless innings last game, he gave up the 2-run home run, but still, he's been pitching better. Like he wants to pitch in the postseason. Yeah, well, he needs to. Pretty bad.
He's been pretty bad. I mean, his ERA is still over 5.
You want to know next year because they signed Happ for 3 years, which is crazy. So you're gonna have Severino, Happ, Paxton, Tanaka, and you figure you still got either Herman or Loaiza in the 5 spot. So you wonder if the Yankees will pursue Garrett Cole. I
mean, and Jordan Montgomery.
And Jordan Montgomery, yeah. Yep. And there is another pitcher. I can't remember who. So don't ask me who, but there is another pitcher that is probably going to opt out of his contract that he said during this offseason that another guy Yankees could go after. I can't remember who, but
yeah, I remember this too.
Someone good is going to opt out.
I remember them talking about it.
But so you wonder if the Yankees are going to pursue another pitcher. I don't know.
I don't know. But yeah,
it depends on what they.
I mean, you might try and trade one of these guys, a couple of these guys.
Yeah.
But like I always say, you can never have too much pitching. So with all the injuries that the Yankees went through this year, do you think they maybe kind of plan for something like that? It sucks to say that, but you can't plan for anything like that because who would have thought the Yankees would have 29 injuries this year? I mean, not high.
I will say the odds of it happening next year are pretty slim.
Well, just like everyone for the Red Sox last year had a career year. Now look at this year. It's just Rafael Devers.
This year. Bradley Jr. is having a good year.
Yeah, but he's a roller coaster. He has one good year and Betts. I think a couple of years ago. I don't think he won MVP, but he was up towards the top in the voting. And the next year he had a terrible year. And then I think he had an okay year after that. And then he won the MVP. Was it last year?
Yeah, he won it last year.
And now he's having a kind of year. So, all right. So what's your last question, Bradford?
All right. Well, the magic number's 3. I want to know when you think they're gonna clinch. They play Toronto home now, or they play someone else? Because they just played Toronto.
They got the Angels for 3. And then I think they play 2 against the Rays.
They do.
And then I know they close out in Texas. I think they do.
They play Toronto at home still too.
Yeah, so I think they go to Toronto and then Texas to close out the season.
Okay.
And then I think but I feel like there's another series in there. Maybe no, it'll be 3 against the Angels, 2 against the Rays, then Toronto, and then Texas to close out the season. So I think they do it against the Angels.
Okay. Yeah, because you got to figure. I don't know who the Rays are playing, but if they lose, it helps their magic number too. So.
Yeah. Any loss, any combination of Yankee win and Rays loss. So Yankees could win and the Rays could lose tomorrow night, and the Rays could lose Wednesday night, and that could clinch.
You want to clinch by winning, though, right? Because you don't want to lose.
I would prefer it.
And then find out in the locker room you clinch and then celebrate.
No, and that's kind of a question that I have.
Stashed away.
Yeah, well, maybe that was my second part of my question. Maybe that'll be my last question for this episode. Do you think? Yeah, because we're talking about it, and I'd rather talk about this than any of my other questions. Do you think they're being overly cautious? Do you think that they're the lightening of the load for these starters headed into the playoffs is to keep their arms fresh for October? You think that's too much? Because we're seeing pitchers like Cody Guerin or whatever his name is, Nestor Cortez Jr., Jordan Lyle or whatever his name is that pitched yesterday. You're seeing all these guys get more innings. And yeah, it's helping the team rest their arms, but they're not winning. So how do you feel about this approach to kind of closing out the season?
Yeah, I don't like it. I mean, you can't look at the playoffs. I can't remember the last time that a team lost in the playoffs, and then the reason was their stars were tired. You just don't see that because it's a natural adrenaline when you get in the playoffs. You're going to be fine. You're going to pitch the way you're capable of because that's what the postseason brings out in you. And at the same time, like I said, they're still competing for the home field advantage. But how do you expect to stay at the same level as the Astros and Dodgers when you're throwing out guys like Cortez and Guerin and these AAA pitchers? It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't like it at all. I think the pitchers actually would prefer if you kept them in their standard rotation so that they would just – it's a game of rhythm. So you just hold that rhythm right through the postseason. I think that actually benefits people more. Houston doesn't call people up. I don't know if you know, the September calls, they don't call as many players up as you can. Like a lot of these teams like the Rays, Red Sox, Yankees, they take full advantage of it and they call up all these players. A.J. Hinch of Houston said he doesn't like to disrupt the locker room like that. He likes to keep the flow and the rhythm going. That's been out season. I think that's a smart thing to do.
I agree. I can't stand it. I can't stand that these games are turning into what they're calling punt games.
Yeah.
I mean, the Yankees led in all 3 games in Toronto and lost the series because you had pretty much the first and third games kind of turned into bullpen games. And you're not putting out the top end of your bullpen, you're putting out the scrap heap that definitely aren't going to be on the playoff roster. And they're giving up runs. And if you're trying to clinch the division, which they should be focusing on first and foremost, get that taken care of. Because, there's 3 games there. Their magic number is 3. But what if Tampa wins out? I mean, 11 games, teams can go on 11-game winning streaks, right?
Yeah.
Has happened before. So you think that they'd want to clinch the division before they start all this giving guys an extra day rest. But even then, you want them to keep their rhythm. You want them to keep their routine going into the playoffs because you want them to be the most effective pitcher they can. And if you put out an overly rested pitcher that hasn't pitched in 7 or 8 days, how many times have we seen that? That guy comes back from too much rest and can't find the strike zone because he doesn't have his release point because he hasn't thrown in a game in too long. Yeah. And the playoffs is where it matters. And you want Paxton pitching as sharp as he's pitching now. You want Happ pitching as good as he was the last couple games. You want Severino coming back strong as a starter. You want these guys sharp. And sometimes rest is good, but I think at this point in the season, you should have done it in the middle so they can build up and work towards the end.
I agree, 100%. But hey, listen, these guys, these general managers and managers, they know a lot more about baseball. They should know a lot more about baseball than me and you. So maybe there's something to it. I don't know.
You would hope. You would hope. So, anyways, that's
what we do.
Yeah, I mean that's what they get paid the big bucks, and that's why I'm sitting in my 3rd bedroom on a Skype call talking about this with you.
So, I'm literally buried right now.
With that said, that wraps up this episode of Yankee Chatter. If you've enjoyed this new format, let us know. Chime in, answer some of the questions. Like we said at the beginning of the episode, if there's a question that we didn't bring up and answer, direct message us on Twitter at Yankee Chatter and put it out there. And maybe we'll bring it on the next recording or the next time we record and talk about it. And let us know what you think. We're dying for some interaction. Please. No, we're not that desperate.
Don't be desperate.
Interact.
It doesn't come off well.
But with that said, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Find us on all the social networks at Yankee Chatter across the board: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play. Same thing. Search Yankee Chatter. I'm doing all the talking here, Brad, but that's just because.
I don't know. Keep going, man.
But that's it. So Greg Andriano at GregAndriano05 on Twitter, and my colleague up north.
Yeah, I'm Brad McCormick, Brad Chatter 1. I had to throw one in there. They made me.
Yep. All right. Thanks for tuning in.
Fans.
You stay classy.